Order. À l'ordre. À la suite.
Following discussions amongst representatives
of all parties in the House, I understand that there is agreement to observe a moment of silence after the tragic event that occurred today in Laval, Quebec. I now invite honourable
members to rise. Thank you. Merci. Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
A bus hit a daycare full of children, and unfortunately, we are learning that 2 children were killed and others are injured. As a father, I can imagine the suffering of the families who've been affected, and we all offer our support and our prayers to those families. Can the Prime Minister please give us an update on this tragic event and the actions that the government will take to offer support to families and to the people of Quebec? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as my honourable colleague has said, we are all thinking of the families affected by this tragedy. Our hearts go out to them. Nothing can erase the pain and the suffering that these families and that community are going through right now. And we will be there to support them in the days and the months and the years to come as they go through this unimaginable suffering. I'd also like to thank the first responders and all those who were there to help following the situation. We will continue to keep them close to our hearts and in our prayers. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, it now takes $1.7 million to be able to retire if you want to be able to eat for the rest of your life. That's according to a study from the Bank of Canada. After 8 years of inflation that's the highest in a generation, 8 years of increases to mortgages, increased costs in rent, and increased cost of food. Because of the inflationist policies of this Prime Minister, people can't pay their bills. Will the Prime Minister finally take responsibility, personal responsibility for these problems so that we can fix what he's broken? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we understand that there are a lot of people, including seniors, who are facing difficult situations right now, but it's not true that we haven't been there for them over 8 years. To the contrary, we increased OAS by 10% for seniors 75 and over. We increased the Canada Pension Plan. We increased the GIS for single seniors. We made high-speed internet more affordable for vulnerable seniors. We doubled the tax credit, the GST tax credit, to help seniors. We will continue to be there for seniors, and we will continue to be there to support them in these difficult times, because we know that that's how we are going to get through these times together. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Talking points. After 8 years, it now costs $1.7 million for someone to retire, according to a Bank of Montreal study. Think of it. You now have to be a millionaire to be able to retire in this country after 8 years of this Prime Minister's inflationary deficits and taxes. After 8 years of doubling the cost of home heating with his carbon tax, of increasing food prices by burdening our farmers, by increasing the cost of everything through $500 billion of inflationary deficits. Why doesn't he personally take responsibility for what he broke so that we can fix it?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's ironic the member opposite speaks about fixing things. When we took office seven and a few years ago, one of the first things we had to do was reverse the cuts that member had voted for that would raise the age of retirement to 67 years old instead of 65. We continue to step up with increasing GIS by 10% for our most vulnerable single seniors, and in the years following, we have consistently been there for seniors while Conservatives continue to call for more cuts, more austerity, while we've been there to support seniors, and we will continue to, Mr. Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition.
What he's done is double the rent to $2,200 a month as an average in the 10 biggest cities. He's doubled the home heating bills right across the country, and he's doubled the average mortgage payment to well over $3,000 a month. No wonder 9 out of 10 young people who don't own a home believe they never will. This is after 8 years of inflationary policies that have driven up the cost of housing and driven up interest rates to pay for it. Why won't the Prime Minister admit that these things are broken after 8 years of his leadership so that we can fix them?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 8 years, we have stepped up on investing in housing. We've invested in low-income rentals. We've made sure that seniors have extra supports so they can retire with dignity. After a previous Conservative government that consistently nickeled and dimed seniors, nickeled and dimed veterans, refused to support young families, these are the kinds of things we've been working on. And yes, Mr. Speaker, there is more to do, which is why we're so surprised that the Conservative Party stood against extra supports for low-income renters, stood against supporting families to send their kids to dentists when they couldn't afford it. These are things that we will continue to do.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister said he was drawing the line to ban anyone from pointing out that things are broken after 8 years of his leadership. Well, his own parliamentary budget officer has crossed the line, Mr. Speaker, saying, and I quote, there is a system that is broken. Anybody who has recently applied for a passport, employment insurance, old age security, and the list goes on. They probably realize very well that the level of public service Canadians are getting is not what one would expect from a world-class public service. There is room for enhanced leadership. Mr. Speaker, will he call to the carpet this rogue parliamentary officer for saying that things are broken?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, after a very difficult pandemic, yes, there have been challenges on service delivery, and that's why this government has been stepping up. One of the areas we're stepping up in is recognizing that our universal public health care system needs more support, and that's why we're moving forward with $198 billion worth of investments in additional money to support provinces and territories in delivering better health care for Canadians, whether that's more access to family doctors, better mental health supports, better support for frontline health workers, or better data and information to underpin our system. We are there to invest while Conservatives continue to push cuts.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want to get involved in something that's none of my business. I get the impression that things aren't going very well in the Liberal caucus, and the Prime Minister keeps adding new problems. The provinces have said that they need $300 billion to fix health care, and the government has come up with $46 billion over 10 years, which everybody finds completely insufficient. So let's start at the beginning, Mr. Speaker. Can the Prime Minister start by admitting that it's not $200 billion new dollars, but rather $46 billion new dollars? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, over the next 10 years, there will be $198 billion new dollars invested in health care systems across the country by the federal government. including $46 billion in new funding for the province and territories to ensure that people have access to family doctors, to make sure that people have access to the best and better mental health services, particularly for young people, and to make sure that our frontline responders in the healthcare system are properly supported, and to make sure that we get better data and better information sharing for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. So, Mr. Speaker, now the government's no longer claiming that it's $20 billion a year. They're saying it's $4.6 billion a year. The provinces asked for $28 billion, so we're very far from what's really needed to take care of people. Because here, we know what the provinces need. Now, we are understanding that the government is indexing underfunding. The government is announcing that this real problem today is going to remain a real problem for the next 10 years. Can the Prime Ministers say and commit that this is not enough, and will he commit to making his offer better? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, while my honourable colleague talks about what the provinces want, we are focused on what Canadians need. Canadians need more family doctors. Canadians need more help when it comes to mental health. Canadians need to know that frontline workers in hospitals and in the system are better supported and better paid, and Canadians need to know where their medical files are and have better access to information to better understand the system that's serving them. That is what we are doing in partnership with the provinces. We are going to improve the system for tomorrow. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Yesterday, in the Prime Minister's meeting with the Premiers, he had a chance to tell Premiers not to double down on for-profit care and poach from our hospitals. It turns out that Premier Doug Ford confirms that this never came up in any conversation. The Prime Minister had a chance to stand up for public health care, increasing staffing levels. Instead, he stood down. The Prime Minister used to believe in public health care. Why the flip-flop?
Honourable Prime Minister.
I'm sure my honourable NDP colleague will be pleased to know that he has been misinformed. One of the very first things I said when I sat down with the premiers yesterday was respect for our public universal system, and the principles of the Canada Health Act is foundational for this government and will be foundational for any money that we flow to the provinces and to healthcare systems across this country over the coming years. On this side of the aisle, we will always stand up for universal public health care.
Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
In the last election, the Prime Minister denounced for-profit privatization in our healthcare system, and he said that that wasn't innovation, and I agree. But that wasn't the case yesterday. It's been confirmed that he didn't raise this issue in his conversations with the premiers. He had the opportunity to defend our public healthcare system, but he folded. Why this major flip-flop? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'll repeat the same answer in French so that my NDP colleague can hear it. Again, the first thing that I said to the provinces yesterday when we sat down to talk about the healthcare system and the investments that the federal government is going to make to help people was that it's essential to respect the Canada Health Act, to continue with our public universal healthcare system, which provides services to Canadians across the country. This is a fundamental principle that we will always defend. We will always be there to defend our public system.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Speaker, after 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, Canadians can't afford groceries. They're up 11%. They can't afford rent. It's doubled. 9 out of 10 young people say they'll never be able to afford a home. And to add insult to injury, he's tripling the carbon tax. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility for the cost of living crisis that he created, or will he at least get out of the way so we can fix it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize that Canadians are going through difficult times right now, following the challenges of the global pandemic, following the challenges of global inflation. That's why we chose to step up to support Canadians last fall with a doubling of the GST tax credit. It helps 11 million Canadians, moving forward on supporting lowest income renters and making sure that all families can send their kids to the dentist. Unfortunately, the Conservative Party, despite their rhetoric, stood against the those last two measures refuse to help Canadians who need it and are abandoning the middle class in favor of cuts and austerity.
Member for Thornhill.
The Prime Minister has been in that chair for 8 years, and for millions of Canadians, things have never been worse. Inflation is at the highest it has been in 40 years. Interest rates are the highest in a generation. Home prices and rents are the highest they've ever been. He can try to deflect responsibility. He can try to blame someone or something else. Conservatives are fighting to keep the heat on and the taxes off. Will he at least do the same?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's interesting to see the lengths to which Conservatives will go to pretend like the pandemic never happened, because it was a very difficult time for Conservative politicians on the federal level who weren't convinced about vaccines, who didn't like all the supports we were sending to Canadians, even though not only did it ensure millions of Canadians were kept safer during the pandemic, but it allowed our economy to bounce back stronger than just about any of our fellow economies. In regards to supporting Canadians, our price on pollution puts more money back in the pockets of families at the same time as we're investing $500 million so that families can upgrade their home heating.
Honourable Member for Calgary, Forest Lawn.
8 years of this woke Prime Minister's inflationary spending, and seniors are going cold, hungry, and broke. 75-year-old Janet from Montreal says she's completely out of money because liberal inflation drove up the cost of her groceries, gas, and her rent. And now she's saying she can't even retire. This Prime Minister will pile drive more seniors like Janet when he triples his failed carbon tax scam, further breaking seniors and Canada. Is this the sunny ways this Prime Minister was talking about? Will he take some responsibility, show some humility, and take the tax off so seniors can keep the heat on?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while the leaders of the opposition members are simply focused on frightening seniors, what we actually saw 10 years ago was they raised the age of retirement from 65 to 67, which we returned to 65 when we first took office. Then we moved forward with an increase in the guaranteed income supplement of 10% for the most vulnerable single seniors that party voted against. We continued to step up in ways to support Canadian seniors right across the country, lifting more of them out of poverty, while Conservatives continued to argue against those investments.
Well, Member for Calgary, Forest Lawn.
This guy must be great at dodgeball, the way he ducks, dodges, and deflects questions in here. He sounds like a broken record, but not as broken as what Canada feels like after 8 years of his failures. He's completely out of touch. Does he actually think people are patting him on the back because he's raised the cost of gas, groceries, and home heating by his out-of-control spending and his failed carbon tax? If he doesn't want to take the tax off so Canadians can keep the heat on, why doesn't he just get out of the way so he can fix everything he broke?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As a government, we stepped up to support Canadians during the pandemic. As a government, we continue to step up to support Canadians during these difficult times of high inflation and high interest rates. That's why we put forward initiatives to double the GST rebate for 11 million families. That's why we move forward with rental supports for the lowest income renters, why we move forward with dental supports for families who can't send their kids to the dentist. Those are two measures, Mr. Speaker, that despite all the rhetoric from the Conservatives, they can't dodge the fact that they voted against those initiatives.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years under this Prime Minister, we know that the member for Papineau is more disconnected than ever from the reality of Canadians. Remember, last December, in front of 2,000 of his Liberal friends, what did the Prime Minister say in a solemn way? Canada is not broken. But Saturday morning, he got the answer from Canadians. 2 Canadians out of 3 say that Canada is in fact broken. And that's what happens, Mr. Speaker, when you're completely disconnected from the reality of everyday Canadians. When will the Prime Minister fully accept the responsibility for the fact that Canada is broken because of him? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, throughout our history, Canada and Canadians have faced very difficult times. And right now, we're facing a difficult moment. But instead of saying, oh, well, everything's broken, we know what Canadians are doing. Canadians are there for each other. They are helping each other. They are there to help each other, and We know that they appreciate the investments that have been made in seniors, in dental care, for low-income renters. These are initiatives that our honourable colleague has voted against. We will continue to be there despite the opposition from the Conservatives to invest. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of Liberal governments, not only is the Prime Minister completely disconnected from Canadians, but he's also disconnected from his parliamentary officers. The Parliamentary Budget Officer, Mr. Giroux, said yesterday in committee that I think that if you were to ask anybody who's tried to get a passport or who's tried to get any other service from government, they are all aware that we're not meeting service levels that we would expect from a world-class public service. Canada is broken. And that's not the Conservatives saying it. That's 2 Canadians out of 3, including the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will the Prime Minister fully accept responsibility for this? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are acting to help Canadians who, yes, are facing difficult times. Yes, there have been challenges with service delivery following the pandemic, but we will continue to work to improve services and to support Canadians. That's what Canadians expect of us. Unfortunately, the Conservative Party voted against dental care support. It voted against help for low-income renters. It's not offering anything to Canadians other than recommendations like investing in Bitcoin so that you can avoid inflation. But, you know, Mr. Speaker, we know that that's ridiculous and it's irresponsible. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. We can't stop the progress, Mr. Speaker, so the Prime Minister has understood that we need doctors, we need nurses, that we need care, that we need more surgeries, we need support for mental health, and that takes skills. And they don't have them, and it takes money, and they're holding that money back. Can the Prime Minister forget this monologue with no negotiation from yesterday and start transferring money to the provinces in Quebec? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers and all Canadians understand very well that, yes, it's going to take additional investments in our healthcare system, and that is what we are doing. But they also know very well that money is not the only solution. We need to deliver more family doctors, more help for mental health care, more help for our first-line workers. We need to improve data sharing. We need to improve the quality of care. That is what we are working on hand in hand with the provinces to deliver. While the Bloc is always looking for fights, we will continue to work with the premiers of the provinces. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, now I can't do this here. So imagine I'm speaking to somebody outside of the House and they'll say, well, what do you know about it? You've never managed a healthcare system. So these are things that we hear from time to time. So look, let's talk about, the facts here. It would be nice to see the NDP show some courage. Does the Prime Minister imagine that he's going to pass a budget with such little sums for healthcare in it? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, throughout the pandemic, the federal government invested $72 billion new dollars to ensure that Canadians were healthy and safe. And yes, we are there to help Canadians, particularly those in the armed forces and on Indigenous reserves. But we know that this is work that must be done working hand in hand with the province and territories to make sure Canadians get the best possible services. And so that is what we are doing. We will work hand in hand with the provinces, and we're not looking for fights the way the Bloc does.
In St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, there's been a 32% rise of violent crime, a doubling of gang murders, police and innocent Canadians being murdered by violent repeat offenders getting bail and back on our streets day after day. This is Canada after 8 years of this Prime Minister's broken Liberal bail system, and yet he voted against taking action on this issue, Mr. Speaker. So what's it going to take for the Prime Minister to fix the bail system and keep repeat violent offenders off our streets?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our top priority on this side of the House is always the safety of our communities. That's why we've continued to make innovations and investments in bail reform, why we continue to work with the provinces and territories on these issues. We will make sure we're keeping Canadians safe. But the Conservative so-called focus on community safety doesn't explain their opposition to stronger gun control laws. We're going to continue to step up to make sure that there is a freeze on handgun ownership across this country and that we keep assault-style weapons banned across the country. The Conservatives continue to be in the pockets of the Canadian NRA.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Years, that answer is not good enough for victims of violent repeat offenders. It's not good enough for their families. They deserve results, Mr. Speaker. All 13 premiers, police, all big city mayors in Ontario are all united in saying this is the Prime Minister's issue to solve, Mr. Speaker, and yet the Prime Minister refuses to lift a finger to keep violent repeat offenders out of our communities. And to top it off, he's the one who broke the Liberal bail system, Mr. Speaker. So can we really trust that he's going to be the one to fix it when he's the one who broke it?
Great question. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we will continue to be there for victims of crime, and we will continue to ensure that there is less violent crime so that fewer people are made victims. When we move forward on our Bill C-75, we did not change the criteria for when accused persons can be released. The bill put in place a reverse onus for certain firearms offences, meaning it's up to the accused to prove that they can be released. The law is clear that people should be detained if necessary to protect public safety, and I know the Minister of Justice will continue to work with his counterparts across the country to ensure we're keeping people safe.
Well, member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, this bail crisis is a crisis of the Prime Minister's own making. What he's doing isn't working. Violent crime in the last 8 years is up 32%. The Liberal minister loves to stand up and say Canadians deserve to feel safe. What Canadians are saying is we deserve to be safe. Canadians don't have the privilege to to travel with armed guards like the Prime Minister does. So after 8 years, this Prime Minister is badly out of touch. Will he take responsibility today for his broken bail system and commit to changing it today?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Minister of Justice will continue to work with his provincial counterparts to see what improvements can be made. But while the members opposite continue to attack the improvements we made to the system, they're misinforming Canadians. When we brought out, for example, the criteria for when accused persons can be released were not changed by Bill C-75. The law is clear that people should be detained if necessary to protect public safety, and the bill also put in place a reverse onus for certain firearms offences, meaning it's up to the accused to prove that they can be released. We're going to continue to stand up for Canadians.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's Bill C-5, which was adopted with the unconditional support of the Bloc Québécois and the NDP, puts the lives of Quebecers in danger. For example, a criminal who was convicted of grave sexual assault will be able to serve his sentence at home thanks to this Prime Minister. And so he'll be able to sit at home with Netflix and a cold beer, and that proves that the government is not protecting vulnerable women. When will this government act to protect victims and keep criminals behind bars? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we know that survivors of sexual assault deserve a justice system that treats them with respect and dignity. We said very clearly that serious crimes must come with serious penalties. And our government, our justice system allows decisions to be properly appealed and studied.
Burnaby Sud.
During the pandemic, we heard horrific reports from long-term care homes. Stories of seniors crying out for food and water, seniors being left in soiled diapers and linens. The Prime Minister promised to change that and did the opposite. Families say things haven't gotten better, and in the offer to the premiers, there is no mention of long-term care, no additional dollars, no help for seniors. Why?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've seen firsthand the challenges that seniors in long-term care faced across the pandemic, and all Canadians know we all need to act together. That's why we welcome the release by the Health Standards Organization and Canadian Standards Association, which is a good start of new standards. We've also provided $4 billion to support provinces and territories in their efforts to improve long-term care in their jurisdictions, because regardless of where they live, we will continue to ensure that seniors receive the quality of care they deserve.
Hear, hear.
Member for Burnaby South.
Yesterday, Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem admitted that this government's approach to dealing with the inflation rate hike after rate hike has only made things worse for Canadians. Household debt and the cost of housing are through the roof. Now, what we're dealing with, a Prime Minister who promised to make it more affordable for people to find a home to call their own, has done the opposite. Why has the Prime Minister made it so expensive for homes and to find a place to call your own?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in our last budget, we moved forward with historic investments to support people buying their homes. Whether it's move forward to eliminate some of the predatory practices in the real estate market, whether it's moving forward with $4 billion for municipalities to accelerate the construction of new homes to create more opportunities for buyers and renters, or whether it's moving forward with a savings account, tax-free savings account for first-time home buyers to help them buy their own home. We know there's much more to do, and we're going to continue doing it, working with all parliamentarians.
Honourable Député.
The Honourable Member for Vaudreuil-Soulanges. Mr. Speaker, many of my constituents depend on our healthcare system to function properly, whether it is in the emergency room, in intensive care, or in long-term care. They need our staff have all the resources they need to take care of our children, our seniors, and our most vulnerable. Will the Prime Minister update this House on the progress made with his provincial and territorial counterparts to ensure that everyone has access to good quality healthcare? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my colleague for Vaudreuil-Soulanges that our healthcare system is being very much challenged these days. That's why we're collaborating with provinces and territories to make sure that all Canadians can benefit from a high-quality service. We were able to announce $198 billion federal dollars over the next 10 years, including $48 billion in new funds. Canadians will therefore be able to have access to a greater number of physicians, lower waiting times, and better access to mental health care and other things.
After 8 years of this Liberal Prime Minister, it's never been more expensive to grow or to buy food, and it's going to get worse. When the Liberal NDP Carbon Tax Coalition triples their tax, the typical farmer will pay $150,000 a year in the carbon tax alone. There are consequences. Not only will this bankrupt farms, it will drive record-high food prices even higher. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility for putting our food security at risk and axe his farm-killing carbon tax?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in my conversations with farmers over the years, I've heard directly from them how concerned they are about the long-term sustainability of their families, of their industries, of their ability to continue to deliver high-quality food to all Canadians. That's why they are focused on fighting climate change and doing so in a way that's going to make sure that we're building a stronger future for everyone. We will continue to work with farmers across this country to make sure that they're equipped for the changes that are coming, while at the same time able to continue to thrive in their communities and in their families as they work hard to feed all Canadians.
For Foothills.
The number one concern of Canadian farmers, the number one threat to their livelihood is Liberal government policy. And they have to understand there's consequences. Taxing Canadian food production is taxing Canadian families out of being able to put food on the table. The consequences are this. Grocery prices are up 11%, the highest in 40 years. Let's put that specifically. Vegetables up 13%, pasta up more than 20%, margarine up more than 30%. Canadian families can't afford to put food on the table. And I had a poultry farmer yesterday, Hessel, call me and say his carbon tax bill for the month of January is 20%. Will he, $20,000, will he cut the...
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Mr. Speaker, the farmers I speak to talk about the fact that floods and droughts and fires and upheavals in our climate are the challenge they're most worried about for their kids and grandkids, and continuing the...
I'm just going to interrupt. I'm going to help the whip. Okay, please continue.
Mr. Speaker, farmers are concerned about their futures, about their kids, about their next generations of farmers in the communities. That's why they know that fighting climate change is important, but they also know they shouldn't be carrying that burden alone, which is why we are continuing to support them in innovation, in transformation, in success, so that they're going to be able to continue to feed Canadians with pride for generations.
Well, member for Peterborough, Kawartha.
In December of 2019, Dan's heating bill was $175. In January of this year, using the same amount of heat, it nearly tripled to almost $400. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, the Liberals continue to take away what Canadians need to survive: heating, housing, and food. There's no solutions, just more tax. Yep. How is this compassionate? How is this leadership? Now, we know they are capable of backtracking. So will they do it? Will they keep the heat on and take the tax off?
Question. Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the price on pollution that we brought in delivers as well a carbon incentive, a climate action rebate that gives more money back to average families than they pay in the areas that have the carbon tax federal backstop applied. These are things that are facts that the Conservatives continue to deny. On top of that, Conservatives continue to pretend that you can have a plan for the future of the economy without having a plan to fight climate change, which is simply wrong, Mr. Speaker. We will be there to fight climate change and support Canadians.
100%. Member for Peterborough, Kawartha.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of that Prime Minister, Canadians are out of money.
That's right.
$40 a month of carbon tax may not be anything to him, but in reality, it is a lot to most Canadian families. It's the difference between giving your kid a snack or not. Read the room, Mr. Speaker. Talk to real Canadians. Listen to them instead of listening to yourself. Will you keep the heat on, Mr. Prime Minister, and take the tax off?
I just want to remind the Honourable Prime Ministers to speak through the Speaker, not directly to each other. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member were listening to her constituents instead of Conservative misinformation, she would have heard that the average family of four, in her riding, just received their first of 4 checks for $185 with the climate action incentive just this past month. We are there to invest in supporting Canadians while at the same time we fight against the impacts of climate change. We are there putting more money in families' pockets with a plan to fight climate change, which is what people across Ontario and across the country need from their governments.
The Honourable Member for La Pointe-de-Lille. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Official Languages Committee turned into a real circus because of certain Liberal members who refused to allow French to be the common language of Quebec. The Liberal government is even threatening its own Bill C-13, which is unprecedented. Yesterday, a Franco-Ontarian MP had the courage to denounce the bad show of these MPs and the falsehoods they spread about the Charter of the French language. But as it stands, not a single Liberal from Quebec has had the courage to stand up for French. Does the Prime Minister condemn Liberal disinformation? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. I am proud of being a Quebecer and a Quebec MP who rises today the Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud. I'm a proud Quebecer who rises every day to defend French in Quebec and throughout the country. And it is our government, by the way, that was the first to recognise in a speech from the throne that we have to protect French as a language, not only as an official language in the country, but that we have to do more in order to protect French in Quebec. And through Bill C-13, that is exactly what we are doing in order to protect language minorities throughout the country and protect French in Quebec. We are here to protect French. We are here for our beautiful French language. The Honourable Member for La Pointe de Lille. Mr. Speaker, much has been said about the Liberal members who turned the Official Languages Committee into a circus, but very little has been said about the Prime Minister's responsibility, who continued day after day to delegate these members to the committee despite their pathetic blunders. The Prime Minister has condoned misinformation that has caused unwarranted concern. Can he finally show some backbone and reassure Anglophones that neither C-13 nor Bill 96 will prevent them from getting healthcare in their language? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I will propose something that might raise the shackles of the Bloc Québécois. The Bloc Québécois doesn't seem to care about the future of French in Quebec. All they care about is French in Quebec, but they completely couldn't care less about Francophone minorities throughout the country. It is up to the federal government to be here for Quebecers and for Francophones throughout the country. Just as we are here for Francophones in Quebec, we will continue to be here and we will fight for both official languages.
The Honourable Member for Cumberland Colchester.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years, this Liberal government has added more to the national debt than every other government combined. Wait times for health care are the longest they've been in 3 decades. Canadians cannot buy medicines for their sick children. Canadians do not have a family doctor. And Mr. Speaker, I bet many Canadians watching this today are in that group. Canadians are tragically dying in emergency rooms around this country. The cupboard has been spent bare. When will the Prime Minister take responsibility for the broken healthcare system and step aside so we can fix what he broke?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I'm pleased to inform the member opposite that yesterday we announced $198 billion worth of investments of additional funds in healthcare over the coming 10 years. This is money that provinces will be investing to make sure people have better access to family doctors, making sure that there are better and more timely mental health cares, that we're supporting our frontline workers, that we're grounding our systems in better data, better health information. And on top of that, Mr. Speaker, for the emergency rooms that the member opposite is worried about, we're sending $2 billion immediately to provinces and territories so they can deal with the important pressures facing them. We are there to help on health care.
The member for Cumberland Colchester.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the member from Papineau that after 8 years of this Liberal government, everything in Canada is broken. Canadians cannot get a passport. 1.5 million Canadians are visiting a food bank every month. 5 million Canadians do not have a family doctor. Canadians cannot afford rent or a mortgage. Canadians have to choose between heating their homes and eating, all under the watchful gaze of the member from Papineau. Everything in Canada is broken. When will this Prime Minister take responsibility for these problems, step aside so Conservatives can fix what he broke?
We fully recognize that Canadians are facing tough times right now, which is why we are stepping up to support them directly. But Conservatives, other than telling them, oh, you can opt out of inflation by buying cryptocurrencies, which would have been devastating for family savings and totally reckless advice, they simply stand against support for low-income renters. They stand against making sure that 200,000 kids so far can access dental care that they weren't able to access before. These are things that are helping Canadians. It's the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker, that have to stop pushing for cuts and austerity.
The Honourable Member for Le Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this Prime Minister, Canadians are finally realising that all these beautiful words to help the middle class was just a bunch of theatrics. Mr. and Mrs. Everyone finds it much more difficult to pay their bills. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, these inflationist expenditures have increased inflation and interest rates, and so people are abandoning their dreams of buying a home. After 8 years, will the Prime Minister finally take his responsibilities when it comes to increasing the price of rent, oil and groceries so you can finally fix what he broke? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Let us make things clear. For the past 8 years, 2.7 million Canadians have been able to rise out of poverty. But of course, people are still living difficult times today. And that is the reason for which we are investing in improvements in our healthcare system, investing in order to help low-income renters, investing in order to help our seniors, investing to help with dental care for under 12-year-olds who otherwise would not be able to afford these dental services. We are here to help Canadians. The Conservatives continue to offer cuts and austerity.
From Malpeque.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for weeks now, the Conservative leader has been saying this Liberal government helped Canadians too much during the pandemic. But let me be clear. The government supports included an additional $72 billion for health care to the provinces and territories. My constituents are left to wonder, how worse off would their hospitals and healthcare system be if the leader of the Conservatives were in charge? Will the Prime Minister follow the Conservative leader's misguided advice of austerity and cuts to healthcare spending, or can the Prime Minister provide us with any policy alternatives?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, as you well know, I can reassure the member from Malpeque for his question, thank him for his question and advocacy, and reassure him that we will be taking no lessons on cuts and austerity from the Conservative Party. As Canadians, we place a lot of value in our universal public health system, but we know it hasn't been living up to expectations. That's why yesterday we brought forward a plan to increase health funding over the next decade. We know that Conservative Party's approach is one of austerity and cuts, but let's be very clear. You don't hire any more doctors or reduce wait times with cuts. On our side, we're focused on making investments and delivering results for Canadians.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk.
After 8 years of this Prime Minister, we have billions of dollars of waste. The Canada Infrastructure Bank was created on the recommendation of former McKinsey CEO Dominic Barton. The current CEO of the bank was a partner at McKinsey. Wow. And surprise, McKinsey has received consulting contracts of $1.5 million. This taxpayer-funded bank, it lacks integrity and transparency. Will this Prime Minister take responsibility and fix what he broke by canceling this out-of-control infrastructure bank?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when we took office 8 years ago, we made a commitment to Canadians that we would invest in the kinds of infrastructure that would grow our economy, create good jobs, and create opportunities for all Canadians. That's exactly what we've been doing through various ways of investing in public transit, investing in new trade corridors, investing in record amounts of housing, because we know that Canadians want to see a better future built every single day in this country. That's why we'll take no lessons from the Conservatives on not spending and investing in infrastructure other than a few doorknobs here and there. We will continue to move forward on infrastructure.
Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
After 8 years of this Prime Minister, Liberal insiders have been lining their pockets while Canadians have been lining up at food banks. And McKinsey, one of those insiders, is the very same company that helped turbocharge opioid sales. They were involved in government corruption scandals the world over, and of course helped the government of Saudi Arabia track down and punish their opponents. That's the company that this Prime Minister gave $120 million of taxpayer money to. So will this Prime Minister finally take responsibility for giving Canadians' tax dollars to a corrupt company, or will he get out of the way? So,
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past years, we've made significant investments to support Canadians, yes, through the pandemic, but also in the years leading before it, where we were investing in creating jobs, in lifting Canadians out of poverty, in preparing for a clean energy future that Canadians know is around the corner. We will continue to be there to support Canadians, whether it's with rental investments or dental care or doubling the GST rebate for low-income Canadians and middle-income Canadians. We're going to continue to be there to invest and support Canadians. Unfortunately, the Conservatives continue to push for cuts and austerity.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, after 8 years under this Liberal Prime Minister, close ties exist between Mackenzie and Canada and the Canada Infrastructure Bank, which is run by Mackenzie's multinational alumni. The Infrastructure Bank gave contracts to the firm that had recommended its creation, all without a call for tenders, confirming another scandal. Mr. Speaker, Canada is broken. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility for the loss of confidence Canadians have in our institutions so that we can fix what he broke? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canadians we continue to do what Canadians have been doing when things are difficult. Be here for one another, working together for a better future instead of throwing one's arms in the air and saying everything is broken. Canadians are working hard together, and we'll continue to be here to help them to do so with investments in dental care, with investments for low-income renters, 2 initiatives that this member, by the way, voted against. We will continue to be here to help families with a better healthcare system. We know that the best way to help Canadians is by investing in the future.
Mr. Speaker, this week the Conservative leader launched radio attack ads across Atlantic Canada against carbon pollution pricing. This is preying on people's fears by spreading mistruth. The Conservatives know it, and they owe Atlantic Canadians an apology. Can the Prime Minister update this House on what this government has been doing to support Atlantic Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to thank the member for St. John's East for her question, her hard work and her leadership on this file. What the Conservative Party still doesn't realize is you can't have a plan for the economy if you don't have a plan for the environment. On this side, we're focused on creating good jobs, helping families with the cost of living, and fighting climate change. And we're doing so through our climate action incentive rebates, putting more money back in families' pockets, and also helping households with retrofits and switching from oil furnaces to heat pumps, saving energy and money while protecting the planet.
Well, member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, workers across Canada and Quebec continue to be left out in the cold on picket lines while their bosses replace them with non-contract scab workers. New Democrats fought to end these union-busting tactics. Le député de Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie.
The member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie has already tabled an anti-scab bill. All the minister has to do is adopt it. No need to delay things any longer than that.
Why is this minister delaying the rights for workers for their ability to collectively bargain? Pourquoi?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, we mandated the Minister of Labour to create a fairer collective bargaining process in federally regulated workplaces by putting forward legislation to further limit the use of replacement workers. We've launched consultations which have now wrapped up, and the results of those consultations will determine the legislation that will be tabled by the end of this year. We support and we have faith in the collective bargaining process because the best deals are always the ones that are made at the negotiating table.
Honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, it's been almost a year since the governing party promised to bring in a home buyer's bill of rights, to end blind bidding in home sales, and to tackle large corporate investors in the housing market. All these actions would help make housing more affordable, but the federal government hasn't implemented any of them yet. What are they waiting for? We need urgent action on the housing crisis. When will the PM finally deliver on these promises?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is committed to leveling the playing field for young and middle-class Canadians looking to buy a home. That's why Budget 2022 announced that we will work with provinces and territories to develop and implement a home buyer's bill of rights and a national plan to end blind bidding. The Home Buyers Bill of Rights will tackle unfair practices in the real estate market and could include measures to ensure the right to an inspection and transparency in sales history. We will not rest until we ensure that the dream of home ownership is protected.
I'm afraid that's all the time we have today for question period. I wish to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery